My name is Vicente Diaz. I'm from Barcelona, Spain, and well, I was maybe you recognize me for the last 9 years and a half in actually in the great team in Kaspersky Lab, now in VirusTotal, and today we are having this workshop to show you guys around how we can do cool stuff in terms of threat hunting with VirusTotal. We want to make something practical, something that you can use in, let's say, in your investigations to show you a little bit around. Hopefully this will be useful for everybody. But before we start, let me share credits with who deserve. Juan, Jose, Brandon, and Gerardo. They all help in this presentation, and well, these are the guys behind this, and just the guy presenting today. All right, so I hope, or I guess, that everybody knows VirusTotal at this point, but in case you don't, yes, let me make a very quick introduction who we are. So VirusTotal is not only this nice website where you check if some binary is malicious or not, and you check what are the verdicts from the antivirus, but also is a very powerful source of intelligence. Actually, you can call it like the Google of malware if you want. Basically, we have our intelligence services inside of VirusTotal with powerful tools on top of a really huge amount of data that you can use for searching, for hunting, and for many other different purposes. What we do with the data we get is basically we get as much information as we can. We make all the relationships, we detonate the samples in different sandboxes, we analyze the binaries, we get the metadata, we try to relate as much as we can. So that's why we are providing as much as we can for everybody to do these investigations. All right, so what is threat hunting? I'm assuming that in SaaS, this is something that we don't really need to explain because probably most of you guys know about this. But threat hunting, just in a nutshell, to explain in 2 seconds, is when you guys are investigating something, you want to get as much visibility as you can for any campaign. So let's say you are in some forensic analysis and you have some artifacts. You want to have the whole picture. You want to know all the indicators of compromise. You want to know where to look for some stuff. You want to know what is next. You want to know what is left in the attack. So you need to know the TTPs. You need to know as much as possible. Also, this is the way how you detect new threats. Basically, when you hear about all these campaigns that are being discovered, like the nice research we saw yesterday and many others, we can also look for anomalies, for things that we don't have any idea what is this, or for something that may be interesting. And we also want to get as much information as we can. So that's basically why we are doing threat hunting, right? We are trying to get as much as we can from some small pieces. We want to make the whole puzzle. Very good. So we know what is VirusTotal. We know what is threat hunting. I will try to go quick to the interesting parts, also because we don't have much time. But I want to explain to you what are like different tools that you can use in VirusTotal intelligence to do this threat hunting. So I will go one by one, but I will just concentrate in what is most interesting, hopefully. So let's start with what is BT grep. Well, BT grep, if you are familiar with the grep command from Linux, is quite self-explanatory, right? So you can basically search for anything inside of the collection of data we have into all the petabytes of binaries we have. You can search for something you consider interesting. How to do that? Basically, we will see later with the interface, but you need to use the command content. And from there, you can search for anything you want, either in ASCII or in hexa. Well, strings or hexa, actually. It doesn't matter if it is ASCII or if it is Unicode. So just for you to have some information how this is done, this is an index. It has like a minimum size, so you cannot like make, search for 2 bytes or something like that. at least it's 32 bits. And you will get all the samples that we have in our collection in less than 60 seconds. This is like our SLA. And what is interesting is that you can use wildcards and you can use most of string conditions that you use in Java, like basic Boolean logic. If you're not familiar with Java, we will see in 1 second. And also one cool thing is that all the samples we have, we try to get as much from there as possible. We try to unpack, we get all the macros outside, we get VBO code. So everything we can find, we will put there in making this search much easier. We will see retro hands later as well, but this is great for that. You can make your favorite search, and from there, later you can create your YAR rule for retro hunting. We will see all of this later. We are just making this introduction. So what can I search for? Let's start with the basic stuff. In this case, we can search for strings, right? Let me just show you how to do it. So this is just some trickbot sample. You can go into content and you can directly search from here. As I told you, you can use the content modifier, but if you want, you can simply go here, find your favorite string inside the content. I'm thinking that maybe I will make it bigger, it will be better. And you just click and automatically you will search. So you see here this content. In this case, we are using this in hex to search inside automatically. As you see, you just need to go and click. Well, this is maybe a bit too strict. For instance, in this case, how we can get more results, just skipping the last part where from the PDB file. Again, PDB files are great for searching because they usually are very specific for some malware families. This is basically the internal path where the project was saved from the developer. So this is always something good. But if you don't want to be very strict, you can always put these wildcards or you can skip some part. Let me show you, for instance, in this case, where we are using these wildcards here at the beginning for the unit letter, and then at the end also to provide some flexibility. Yes, let me show you in a second here to make this content search. So basically it's the same idea. We have the same, but we are using some flexibility in our search. So here you see that we have more files, in this case 6. So what is we are finding here, if we go to content and we quickly move to the PDB, you see in this case is x86, for instance. In another one, if we go to the content and we look for the PDB, is DE installer. So you see, you can play this with these expressions to make it more flexible, which is great. Unicode, obviously, is not only ASCII. Remember that we can also check for Unicode inside of our strings. Actually, if you are doing, by any chance, the Java training from Kaspersky, you will use this in some exercise. That's a pro tip. And what is good, as I told you before, and you can see in this slide, we have all these logical operators. So what is this example about? This example actually is about some real spoof loader. In some cases, these guys are using the PDB. In some cases, they are not. So you see, basically, we have two conditions with this OR operand. In one of them, we have the PDB. In the other, we don't. So we are looking for something different. So you see, if you're familiar with Java rules, we are approaching more and more to this logic, right? We are like making this condition more and more complex in order to find something interesting, which is all why this threat hunting is about. Actually, something I personally didn't know is that you can specify with an offset where you want to start searching for some, we cannot do regular expressions, but we can do something that is pretty similar. You can see here this combination of strings, characters, and hex. And then we have some buffer where we can find some bytes inside, and then how it ends. And you can see here at 0, meaning this is the offset where we are going to start searching for this. Again, this is something very specific, but in some cases may be useful. So why not? If we have this possibility, we can always use it. Pro tips, always try to use the most specific substrings that you can, because this will make everything quicker, obviously. And especially the common substrings, allow to use them at the beginning and at the end. This is logical, just, to go directly to the hash table where we have like all the different entries that are corresponding to this, because you are starting to search for what is more uncommon from the beginning of the string. Something interesting for you also is that we have not only content, we have also content experimental. And what is this? This is actually available for all of our users of intelligence, PT intelligence. But this allows like additional stuff. In this case, we have different operators we can use, like positive, size, and type, for instance. This is great because it's also providing you with more tools for your search. At the moment, this is experimental, as self-explanatory in the command. But if everything goes well, this will be adopted and at some point will replace the current content. So we will have, let's say, this even cooler content search. All right, so this was pretty basic. These are some ideas, what we can do. You see at the end, well, we started searching for something like in a grep. We were putting like more and more modifiers. And at some point, we have something that is similar to a Yara rule. So what is a Yara rule? I'm not going to explain what is a Yara rule in SAS. So don't worry, don't disconnect yet. But I hope everybody knows what is Yara. So just to make sure, if you don't, you can quickly take a look. But basically, it's the tool of choice for any analyst, I would say, to search for different malware using different patterns, using different characterization that we can create. So we can create rules dedicated to find some malware that we know. Now, we are going to play a small game. So I don't know if you guys are fans of Pokemon, maybe some of you. You remember in Pokemon that you need to name this Pokemon in the, in the post. So I have named this Yara game for you. So I think there are cool prizes. So we will see who is able to tell me what is this Yara. Do you recognize this Yara? Let's leave like, I don't know, 10 seconds. Actually, I don't know if you guys are even replying in the chat. I cannot see from here. So, I'm just going to leave a little bit of time. Hopefully some of you recognize. I think this one, if you take a look, is pretty easy. Maybe you can say who is the actor behind of this, maybe is familiar for you. All right, I don't want to kill all the time playing this. So if someone got the right answer, congratulations. I think that Novikov will send a really cool prize to you. But this is basically a Yara for detecting Turla stuff. Maybe you remember Neuron. This was released by NCSC from the UK. But I just wanted to show you how a Yara rule looks like in case that you never saw one. So basically you have these strings like the ones we were searching for. And you can see we have in the condition, we play with Boolean logic, like we want so many of those, that many of different strings in this position and or. So we just play with different conditions and then we have some modules to make it even easier and to have more flexibility. But I'm not going to talk about Yara rules, I promise. I assume that everybody knows Yara rules here. Very good. So what can you do with Yara rules on VT? Actually, VirusTotal is kind of the home of Yara. So we can do many, many things. I will just explain you a little bit some cool stuff you can do with Yara. The first thing you can do is retro hands. I guess everybody knows retro hands. Basically, you are like throwing your Yara rule against our collection, and you will scan how many files can you find through your Yara rule. In this case, you will get the result. It takes some time because we need to go through a couple of files. So, well, this is how it works. The only thing here is that Yara rules that you use for retro hand, they need to be pure Yara rules. So I will explain why pure Java rules, or why I mean by pure Java rules, because now I'm going to explain you some rules that are actually not pure Java rules. So in this case, this is another mode. You can use your rules instead of retro hand. It's called live hand. So what is live hand? Basically, you are scanning with your rules anything that goes into VirusTotal. So you have this live stream where you are like analyzing everything that comes into VirusTotal, and you will receive an alert every time there is something interesting for you. So these are live hands. Now, what is interesting here is that in live hands, you are not limited to, let's say, typical Java rules. You can enhance your Java rules with cool stuff. So let me show you a little bit. Actually, if you've been using Java rules, you know that you can import different modules. Everybody is using, for instance, PE module. So we have also BT module. And what is in there? Basically, you have access to all the metadata that we can find. You can have access to all the tags that we are using, to the different detections. Not only that, also to the behavior of the files, as we will see. So here you can check the documentation. Here you have a few examples. Like, for instance, in this rule, we are checking if the file is malicious by at least one antivirus engine, the file type, if it is a new file, if it is submit from China, and if any of the signatures contains Zbot. So you can play with any ideas that you have. One interesting thing that you can do also is check the behavior. So behavior is when we detonate the sample in different virtual machines, you can check for what the sample is doing. And here you have also a couple of examples. Yeah, for instance, you can check that it's dropping some file and that the name of the file that is being dropped, it's something that we are looking for. We can search for a given mutex. This is pretty cool, I think. Or not even that, we can check for the behavior in a more generic way. For instance, we have these behavior traits, and you can check if the file somehow is doing something that we, or the virtual machine, is qualifying as persistent. So also this is very, very interesting. Well, you can combine all of this. So you see that in reality, what all these searches, all these modifiers can be used for a search in VT, at the same time can be kind of translated into a Java rule. So it's kind of a connection, which is good because you can like do the search and then you can create your Java rule and leave it on live hand. So for instance, I created some Java rule here. Let's check all the documents that have more than 10 detections are submitted at least by 3 people. And they have macros and they are submitted in the last 15 days. Why we want something like that? Well, let's see that, I don't know, we're interested in see what is malicious that maybe is being sent by phishing messages. So let's check this, just out of curiosity. All right, so we find like 5 files here that are like following this pattern, that they are being uploaded and they have macros and they are documents and they are malicious and everything. So for instance, we can create this live hand and feed our systems. I will leave this open because I want to show you more stuff about this in 1 second. But for the moment, let's move on. Again, the idea is that you can create these complex searches, and from the searches, you can also create your Java rules and do your live hand. I think that, you know, all of this will be better in a longer workshop. I'm sorry to be rushing. Ideally, we will be doing these experiments, tests, and everything, right? But this is what we have today. Now, what else can we do? We can think about all these possibilities, create all these modifiers, our rules, but, you know, we start getting some artifacts here. We are advancing in our investigation. One of the most powerful tools is similarity, because here we can like search, all right, what else is similar to this? What else could be related? What else have some thing in common with the malware I'm checking? And actually similarity is a very powerful tool. We will take a look into this. Yes, we will start with something that is probably the most intuitive, which is visual similarity. Means that they look the same. in terms of some icons, in terms of a PDF, or in terms of some Office documents, they externally look exactly the same. For instance, you can see here, the example is very easy to understand. You are looking for something similar with this same icon. Let's get back to the results from before, right? So for instance, if we see here the icons, I was curious about them. And one of them, if we check the content and we go to preview, so you can actually check what is this thingy that we have here. Remember, this is the files with macros, documents, etc. That is not charging now, of course. Yeah. So you see, this is a trick that they are using for you to activate the macro, right? To enable content. The cool thing is that if you want to search for similarity, you just need to click here. And here you have a new tab where we are searching. You see here this main icon dash. So we are searching for all these files that are similar to this one. And you see, this is quite a big campaign. And we just found it with a few clicks. Now, other than executables, as we saw, we can also search for PDF. Here we have also, or I have an example for Emotet that I think is interesting. So just let me show you super quick. Oops. First, let's go to the file. Emotet again, and here we have this icon. We click here and we go for similarity. In this case, with the preview of the file. So why is this interesting? So here you see all these look similar, but if you see the names of the files, this is TD Bank, this is Citigroup, this is Citibank, this is TD Bank again. So if you go into any of them and we check the preview, actually the content is not exactly the same. They are like customizing for different banks, and they are having like, even if they have the similar appearance, the content is not exactly the same. So it means that doing this kind of search, you can find stuff that is being abused, that is being like using these lures for the customers or for the victims in this case. But in reality, they are like different. So you are not searching for something exactly the same. Oh, no preview available. Sorry for that. I think I was checking this before. Well, this is not so critical, but I would like to show you. All right, so this is the Wells Fargo, and you see that this is for Wells Fargo. And well, just take my word, if we check for Citi, we will see Citi as well. So this is very cool. We can find like all these phishing campaigns, for instance, similar with Office documents, for instance, in APT attacks that you are sending to different victims, the lure document, etc., etc. This is actually one of them, but I don't think we need to check. All right, so visual similarity is pretty easy to understand because it's pretty intuitive. Now let's go for more similarity stuff. Why we want more similarity if we have visual similarity? Well, because binary files are complex, they have a structure. So we have different ways to find something that is similar. There is not one single unique way to go for similarity. That's why we have multiple similarity. I want to quickly go through different similarity methods that we can use. So we will see later, if you go into one file, you will see we have bhash, authentic hash, imp hash, ssdiff. So what is all this about? Bhash actually is our own hash where we create this heuristic based in different characteristics of the file. Actually, if you find with the similar to, you can see here this similar to, basically this is what you are doing. The thing is that when you're searching by similar to, it's a bit fuzzy, so you don't look for exactly the same content, right? But we have bhash, which is our own hash, trying to cluster different things that are like structurally related. Authentic hash is something that I think Microsoft introduced, signing like different files with different applications is a kind of signature. Imp hash is basically the import table hash. ssdiff is well known. Code blocks is where we are basically running the binary through a disassembler and trying to find the structure of the different code blocks, right? So how can we use the similarities with code similar to? Um, we also have hashes in terms of behavior, these B hashes. Given different sandboxes, we are trying to find if they behave in a similar way. Rich headers we can also find. So you see, there are like different ways to do this similarity. We show you a few of them. Now, I want to demo very quick something we can do with that. First of all, let's go open this file. What is this? As you can see here, with this, is matching this rule, is saying that it's real, which is actually we can hear the rule set. I don't know if you saw this feature, which is pretty new, but this is very nice. You can see that we have some context about this. All right. Now we want to check if there are similar files in our systems. What can we do? So in order to check for similarity, first of all, as I promised, if you go here, you see all these hashes, right? The SSD, authentic hash, vhash, so you can just click and search for something. But if we go here, we can search for similar files, and actually we can open all of them if we want. So let's do that, which is saving us some clicks, so why not? Now, you can see that in the different tabs, we have the different similarities. So the first one is similar to, as I told you, is this vhash fuzzy. Then we have code similar to. We don't find any matches by code similarity, code blocks. P header hash, this is interesting. SSD still running. And then we have vhash, which is behavior. So what can we do with something like that? Well, we can actually go here, maybe, and we can select a bunch. And here we have something cool. I don't know if you have seen this button, but basically this is showing you all the commonalities. So let's see what they have in common. For instance, we have a lot of data. We see that 20 items have like 4 sections, which is not important, for instance. So why I want to check from here. So if we go back to my new Ryuk sample, we see that it was created in September. So let's go and see what is created in September. So I can just click here and I copy to the clipboard. So here, let's go check these files. All right. So here we find 3 files, and you can see just very quickly, they have similar size. These two are actually identical. Actually, they are seen very similarly, and they have similar names. So it looks like they are like the same thing. Now, another cool thing I can do is that I can select the files that I want, and then we have this btdiff. I don't know if you know this, but this is really interesting. So what is btdiff? We'll automatically try to find what these files have in common in terms of code. So we will go for sequences of hex that they have in common. Let's do so. So what is this useful? This is useful for us to create like nice Java rules. We can have like not only 2 hashes, we can have 100. Well, I don't know if we can have 100, but we can have more for sure. And we can check. So while we create this, I will like to launch the poll. We have a poll for you guys. So if our friends from SAS can share with you, I put in this poll different options and we can discuss what do you think. Very good. So, this is distraction while this is running, but it takes a little bit, but not too much. Usually it's less than 1 minute. Even if you put more hashes, let me drink a bit.